So, according to a lot of filmmakers, this type of lens, an anamorphic lens, is the holy grail of cinematography. Instant cinematicness. Everything you shoot with this lens will magically turn into a movie. Just like that. And this, a normal spherical lens, this is a 50mm and chances are that you have one, well, this is garbage. Barely good enough to make videos of your cat. I mean, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating just a tiny little bit, but still, is it true? Does this really look so much more cinematic than this? Well, let's find out. I'm gonna show you footage shot with a normal spherical 50mm and footage shot with an anamorphic 50mm, side by side. Footage shot in different locations and different lighting conditions. And I'm not gonna point out the differences because I don't want to pollute your brain. You know what I mean? I just want you to look. That's it. Simple. Because sometimes I hear people say like, oh, I heard a guy on YouTube say that this lens is the most cinematic lens, so that's why I bought it. But no, what do you think? That's important. So do let me know in the comments what you think. Okay, now the most obvious difference between an anamorphic lens and a normal spherical lens is that the anamorphic lens has that typical wider horizontal field of view. So it compresses a wider image horizontally onto the sensor and then you have to unsqueeze that image in post. And I can hear some of you thinking now, oh, but what if I use a wider focal length, or what if I move back a little bit and then just crop the image to get the same aspect ratio? Well, yeah, you could do that, but it won't look exactly the same because you will sacrifice some depth of field and the perspective of your shot won't look the same if you start moving around. Now, if that would be the only difference, then making the decision whether or not to buy an anamorphic lens would be easy because you either care or you don't, and then you just crop your image. But it's not that simple because there are more differences, and that's what I want to show you today. So let's put an anamorphic 50mm and a spherical 50mm side by side, and let's start with a shot of me here in the studio. First, the spherical normal 50mm. So take a good look. And now I'm going to switch to the anamorphic 50mm. And of course, the field of view is wider horizontally, so it looks very different. But let's crop it to the same aspect ratio, like this. How different does it look now? Does the anamorphic lens still look more cinematic or not? And I have my opinion, but like I said, I want to hear your opinion. So do let me know in the comments, and there's no wrong opinion, you know? Whatever it is, let me know. Now, of course, this is not a situation where I would use an anamorphic lens here in the studio. Normally, I would use an autofocus lens, and this is a manual focus lens. For videos like this, I turn on phase detection autofocus, and boom, easy. So this is not a lens to make videos like this. But of course, if you want to, you can. But okay, let me show you another simple studio shot just so you know what it looks like, what the difference looks like. I made a little product setup here. Some lighting, and this is the spherical 50mm and this is the anamorphic 50mm. So you be the judge. What looks better? Again, not a situation where I would use an anamorphic lens, but also again, there are no rules. Okay, so that was all artificial lighting, and you probably all know that often light is what makes or breaks a shot. You can make any camera, any lens look better, more cinematic if you know how to light a scene. So now let me show you some shots in natural lighting. Will the anamorphic lens make it magically look more cinematic? So let's start with a high contrast shot of Joanna sitting on the couch, and I'm only going to show you the spherical shot and a cropped anamorphic shot because I want you to guess which is which, and then at the end of the video I'll tell you, okay? Okay, this is lens A, take a good look, and this is lens B. So let me know in the comments which you think is the anamorphic lens. And I think I forgot to mention, so for everyone who's interested, the lenses I'm using are the TT Artisan 50mm f2 and the Greatjoy 50mm t2.9 anamorphic. Okay, and then of course I also went outside to get some shots. This is a shot of the sunset taken from our balcony. Spherical lens. This is the cropped anamorphic 50mm. And this is the original wide anamorphic shot. And here's a shot I took in the small park in front of our apartment. It used to be a cemetery. And if you pay close attention, you should be able to tell the difference between the spherical shots and the cropped anamorphic shots. But it's difficult when it's a wide shot. I know. It should be a lot easier when it's a close-up, because then the differences become more clear. So here are some close-ups. And again, for the first one, I'm only gonna show you the cropped anamorphic shot, because again, I want you to guess. Let me know in the comments which one you think is the anamorphic lens. This is lens A. And this is lens B. And I'll let you know at the end of the video. Okay, and then here's another close-up shot. This is the anamorphic shot, and this is the spherical shot. And if you know what to look for, then it should be easy to tell which is which. Now, I know that most of the shots I'm showing you are very random and kind of boring, but that's the point, because we want to find out if the anamorphic lens magically makes it look more cinematic. And if it can make a boring random shot look more cinematic, then it is magic. Okay, and then finally, here are some night shots. This is the original wide anamorphic shot. This is the cropped version. And this is the spherical 50mm. And here's another one. And another one. I don't know if you've noticed the blue lens flares, but that's another very in-your-face characteristic of anamorphic lenses, besides the wider horizontal field of view. It's very typical for anamorphic lenses, even though this Greyjoy anamorphic doesn't produce over-the-top flares. They're kind of muted, but they're still there. But what I like most about anamorphic lenses is the overall look of the image. An anamorphic lens looks a bit softer and, I don't like to use the word, but more organic. And then that wide field of view combined with the typical shape of the out-of-focus background and how that out-of-focus background behaves in relation to the subject. I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah, that's what makes it so beautiful for me. Because it's not just those oval bokeh balls. Those look cool, but it's more than that. And that's why I didn't want to point out all the differences, because it's something you have to feel and enjoy yourself. And let me tell you the correct answer now. So lens B was the anamorphic lens. Go back and yeah, check if you can see the difference now that you know. But anyway, so look, if you can't see the difference between the cropped anamorphic shots and the spherical shots, especially when it's a close-up, or you don't care about the differences, or you only care about that wide field of view, then don't buy an anamorphic lens. Just use a wider lens and crop those images to an anamorphic aspect ratio. Because anamorphic lenses are more difficult to work with and they are still more expensive. So if you're gonna buy one, you should buy one for the right reasons, right? Not just to get that wide field of view, because then it's kind of a waste of money. And that's the point of this video. I hope it will save you some money. If it doesn't, well, then enjoy your new anamorphic lens. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.